Aloha everyone, my name is Alessandro and this is the Temple of Surf, the podcast. We'll give you full access to the best surfers, skaters, shapers, surfboard collectors, shop owners in the world. Discover with me their stories, the greatest successes, amazing behind the scenes, and much more. Aloha! Welcome to the 13th episode of the Temple of Surf, the podcast. Today with us, Brad Gerlach. Let's discover more about wakey, surf coaching, and much more. Hi, Brad. Welcome to the show. Where are you today?
I'm at home with the laundry over there that needs to be folded, and here in I live on the Gold Coast of up in Queensland in Australia.
Amazing, fantastic. So today we're going to talk about so many things, your career as a surfer, your career as a coach, all the other projects that you're working on. But the first thing that I would like to ask you is, in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
The most important thing is to continue the feeling that you have when you very first stand up on your first wave, which is fun and excitement and unknown, sort of an unknown, all this thing. If you can continue that kind of attitude throughout your surfing life, that is the most important, because that will keep you surfing, because you'll always think of surfing in that way. If that feeling wanes, I think that's when you need to take a look at yourself and sort of you need to change something. Whether it's a surfboard, surfing with a different friend, a different surf spot, perhaps even a teacher, or something you need to change, because your perspective. The point of surfing, the whole point is to have fun, and if you lose that, then doesn't matter what you do.
That applies also to professional surfers, right? If you don't have fun, even if that's the sport of surfing is your profession, then maybe it's better to think about quitting, or as you said, you don't have to be maybe drastic, but you can just change a few things that make you enjoy and keep the stoke, right?
I think that's the number one thing, because when you feel like you're getting better, it makes you go in no matter the conditions. And there's places to get better paddling, better takeoff, better connection between the cutback and the bottom turn, all these spaces in between, all these places that you can be more fluid. There's just so many places to get better, not just in, how much more you can hit the top or how much more radical you can surf. Of course, when you're a kid, you're kind of going for those things and you're trying to get better at being more radical, but you don't realize that the things in between the radical turns are what help you do those radical turns even better. So there's so much to learn. It's more than a lifetime to learn the surfing.
Yeah, definitely. We never stop, no matter which level are we. What was your first proper surfboard? Not mean the one that you used first handed over to you, like your first real surfboard, and do you still have it?
My first proper surfboard is probably was when I ordered a custom surfboard from. I lived in Encinitas, Acadia area in northern San Diego, and the first real board was the one I ordered from as a custom surfboard, and I was about 13. And I started surfing when I was 10. I had an accident. I didn't really start surfing again until I was 11 and a half or 12. And I had a couple of boards, used boards and stuff like that, big ones, these ones. But when I ordered my own first board, it was from Agua Surfboards in Encinitas. and it was a 6-foot board, single fin. And it sort of had it had some artwork on it. It looked a little bit like Dane K. Aloha. It was actually yellow and a brown stripe on it. I actually wanted it brown, if you can imagine. Yeah. And
Choices.
that was my first kind of proper surfboard that was made for me.
And do you still have that surfboard or what's happened?
Sure. I wish I did. No. Now, the oldest board I have is from 1985, and it is Gary Linden.
Okay.
That's the board that I qualified on and also won my first event on. So I did keep that one, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. In your opinion, what was the defining moment of your career as a professional surfer?
I would say that when I was 25, I won the Coke Classic here in Australia, and then I won the Gunson within 2 months of that. So I won 2 events. I felt like I was surfing the best I'd ever surfed, and I also got second at Jeffreys Bay, it was called the Dream Sequence. And I got third in the OP where I did a big like floater. I didn't make it, but it got a lot of attention. And I think that period of my right there was when I was at my that was like a strong period of my, I think that's when I laid down that I was one of the best, yeah, that was probably, for me too, like I didn't have a coach, and I remember a lot of things. I have a lot of notes from that time and everything, and my lack of self-belief and how important if I could go back and be either, coach my younger self, or I could have had somebody with me that was older, that was helping me make better decisions than just, my 25-year-old emotional, then I probably would have been more successful, possibly won the world title. Maybe I wouldn't have quit the world tour. I think that kind of 91 thing was very pivotal for me as a teacher too, to be able to understand what my limitations were as a top level athlete, and how important it is to have the right team, helping you, and how much focus it takes to win and reach your potential. Wherever your potential is, you want to reach your potential, because when you're older, you won't look back and think, I could have done better if I would have, I left meat on the bone, or, that kind of thing. So, for me, I've been able to take all of those learnings and spin it into a positive, and be able to be a teacher, a mentor from experience. I have a lot of empathy and a lot of drive to help. And so I feel like teaching is, I think I'm a better teacher than I am a surfer. And that's like amazing to be able to pull from those experiences. And also, fortunately, I have a really good memory, and yeah, that kind of, I would say that 91 period was probably that's probably where, yeah. And I did think about it, like if I had stayed there with the right coach, with the way I was starting to really train, and the speeds I was surfing at, everything, I think I would have had quite a few head-on-head clashes with Slater. As I'd beaten him in 90 in really good waves at Hoscore. We had a really good heat together. And I think I would have been his rival, that performance-wise. Because the rest of the pack, they were more competition surfers, aside from Tom Curran. The rest of the pack were kind of, Barney Lynch, Damian Hardman, Daryko, a lot of them were real tacticians, and they knew how to they knew how to read a wave to get the maximum score out of it, but they weren't like freak. They weren't able to do freakish. At that time in '91, it was a lot about blowing your tail, tail slides, and progressive surfing was really coming in, and I could do it. I was one of the few guys that could release my fins in control over the top of the wave, and but I had a lot more meat on my bones than the other guys did, so I did it with a lot more power, manpower. So it's just kind of it's kind of a, for me, what I take from that is whoever I'm helping is, I can tell if they have the hunger, and I just can compare their hunger to what my hunger was. And then also I'm able to see where they might come up against a wall. And I can say, hey, there's a wall coming up ahead, and here's how to go around it or above it or underneath it. You know what I mean? And without all that experience, I don't think I could be, as effective as a teacher.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I mean, what I was thinking while you were talking is, first of all, maybe no regrets about what happened in the past. I mean, yes, maybe you could have won a world title, but as you said, your experience during those years is helping you to be a better coach right now, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would, I definitely have some regrets. I could have done things much better. But in saying that, perhaps I would not be able to be such a good teacher if I didn't do those things, because I know the results, and then I also am very honest with my students. I don't beat around the bush. I don't think it's fair to not be honest. I think you have to be honest, and you have to be willing to lose the student too. If you're like, look, you can't take the honesty, because they're going to grow up someday and look back, and if you aren't honest with them, they're going to look back and say, "Oh, what was he just taking the money?" You know what I mean? So that honesty thing is so rare, and so you want, as an athlete, to have somebody that's very honest with you, so that no matter. And the more famous you get all these people coming around. And oh, amazing, oh, you make somebody dinner and it's the worst food ever, and they're like, oh, it tastes so good, just because, and you're like, they don't even tell you, hey, this needs more salt and this sucks,
Sure.
And so you lose your way, and but if you have somebody honest, it's so important. And for a pro athlete, really,
So would you say that honesty is the most important thing in coaching?
Well, I think yes, because if you do not know how to help somebody, you need to say it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't know I don't know how to help you. You know what I mean? You can't make it up. If you can't be like, oh, this person's paying me, I have to come up with something like, okay, no way. You have to tell the person, I don't know how to help you.
Yeah.
But I might be able to in a week. I can't. I don't know the answer right now. But and then they go, oh, cool. The person isn't full of shit. I think the most important, the other thing is you really need to know what you're doing. You have to have confidence. Like I'm confident enough. I could coach John or Kelly or Dane Reynolds or any of those guys. If they came to me, I could help them surf better, and I'd be able to show them where. I don't know many people that could have the confidence that could say, I could help you surf better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Not many people. Not many. They go, yeah, fucking ripping. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But so I think confidence is a big one. And then, you've got to be, and you have to be very talented. You have to be a talented teacher.
Yeah, of course.
You have to have a gift. You know what I mean? Like, and that gift usually comes because you've got heart.
Yeah.
You care about your student. You really care. So when you're not coaching them, you might be doing something else, and then you go, "Oh, I just thought of something." Yeah, and I'm gonna call them and say, "Oh, I check it," and I'm gonna go back and tell them, because you're thinking about your students. I'm like, "Oh, okay, lesson's over. All right, see you next week," or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just a different, it's
I think, like there is a huge difference between being a instructor, a teacher, or a coach or a mentor, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
also that goes, I think, with the age, and I think it goes with the capability, as you said, of a person, right? Not everybody is able to coach, like not everybody is able to mentor, or even not everybody is able to surf. To train or to be a surf instructor, right? You cannot just pretend to be. You have to have some competencies, capabilities, and you need to have some drive. Otherwise,
Well, you have to have experience. So let's take fighting for instance. You know what I mean? You would want, if you're a boxer, you would want to train with somebody who knew who was a boxer, who can speak about,
yeah.
So like for me, I have the experience of riding 70-foot waves, and I can ride 1-foot waves in competition, and I can and I've ridden perfect waves in Indonesia and super shitty waves in Los Angeles, and like I have the experience of riding thousands and thousands of different types of waves, and so I have a feeling, of whatever. I look at a wave and I go, oh yeah, yeah. Like a feeling of what that wave is doing, how to tap into the power of that wave when a person is overdoing it, and that's mostly what surfers do. They overdo it.
What was the most memorable wave that you ever catch or surfed?
There's one of the waves at Cortez Bank is probably one of the most memorable ones. So I was just completely tubed by just a giant 40, I don't know, 50-foot wave, and I thought I was going to die or get killed in it, and I made it, and I kind of put myself in a position that the only way I was going to make it was tube riding. So I had to go for the tube, to make it. I made it. I had two of them out there, and those are two of the most memorable ones.
Quite nice.
I've had some incredible waves in Indonesia, like just incredible. Chobu, Jeffreys Bays. And I can't remember one specific wave at Jeffreys Bay, but I remember surfing there and feeling very, very good. Like, I'm like, wow, wave is like, I love this wave. It's just pedal to the metal, like, oh, never slow down, kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Before, you were referring to several surfers that they were competing with you when you were 25, Kelly, Daryko, Tom Curran. But in your career, among all the surfers that you met, was there like one specific meeting with one of them that was particularly meaningful for you still today?
There was a couple things. One, that I had gotten in trouble with my mother, and then I had to move with my father to Arizona for like 3 months, and I wasn't sponsored, and I didn't, I wasn't surfing in competition, but I still had the dream that I wanted to be a professional surfer. And when I came back, my mother wouldn't let me come back and live with her, but my friend, I talked his mother into letting me live in the garage when I was 14. And she said, okay. She had 3 boys, and she was like, oh, well, fuck, one more, and so I came back. And before I came back, my best friend told me, oh, yeah, we're going to get sponsored by Nectar Surfboards, and they're going to give us free boards, and then they're going to drive us to all the competitions in California and pay for the competitions. And we didn't come from money. We didn't have money. And so I was talking to my friend on the phone from Arizona, thinking, when you're 14, if you miss 2 days of surgery, you think, fuck, everybody's going to get better than me. Your mental, but 3 months seemed like, could have been felt like 10 years. And he's telling me this stuff on the phone. I'm going, oh no, and then I got back to California and then I stayed with him and then we went surfing. And on the second day of surfing, this is in San Diego, the guy who was in charge of the Nectar Surfboards team, he was in the water surfing. I was just trying to surf as good as I could surf. And then that day, we all would go into the beach and just throw our boards up there and just stay at the beach all day. And he goes, so are you going to ride for us or what? And that's the way he put it to me, So are you going to ride for us or what, man? I was just all, and from that moment, I got new, a couple new boards. This guy's name's John Blom. He's still my friend. He was 4 years older. He's 4 years older than me. He had a van, and he took myself and 3 other guys to every competition. He surfed in the men's, and we surfed in the boys and all that stuff. But those competitions that I surfed in every weekend with those guys, that competitiveness of wanting to win every time and all that, without that help, I wouldn't have got to the contest. I wouldn't have been able to pay for the contest. And there's a window. If that didn't happen right then, and I started surfing contests when I was 16 versus 14, and all the mistakes that you make, I might not have decided to be a professional surfer. So that was meeting, having John. And John was on the cover of Surfer. He's a really good surfer. He's a great artist. His name's John Blom. And John was my favorite surfer. I love the way John surfed. That was he's one of the most influential people in my life. And then during that time, Greg Mungle was riding for Nectar. And Greg Mungle won the Caton. He's from Florida, but he's one of the best, real incredible small wave surfers, really fast, high performance guy. And I remember him saying to me, because I was just 14 without a lot of parental guidance, and I was probably fucking up or whatever. And he said, "Hey man, we're all counting on you, dude. Don't fuck up." And I was I kind of remember thinking, really? People are counting on me? Oh, wow. I didn't, it was I'm still friends with Greg. And I remember thinking wow, I better make sure I don't fuck up, and it was just important, really important. And then I met Rick Rasmussen. He died, but he was a really good surfer on the East Coast. He took me to Mexico to this competition down there and told me, it's just so different, right? I'm 14 or just about 15 or something. He took me to a pro contest in Mexico. My parents were okay, with this guy, they didn't even, he was a 70s, really, really good surfer from New York. He got actually killed. I think he was involved in some drug stuff. But if you look back at the magazines, you'll see Rick Rasmussen. He told me, this is when I moved from Nectar to Brewer Surfboards, and he told me that he goes, hey, if you ever need any money for contests, call me, I'll pay for it. And don't worry about it. Just keep, stay focused, kid. And another guy named Chris O'Rourke, who was one of the best surfers in San Diego, he also he was really battling cancer, and so he held onto my leash. I paddled him out at Swami so he could get a couple waves. He was real weak from chemo, but he was one of the best surfers in California. He was if you just look up his name, Chris O'Rourke. He also told me just to stay focused. Another guy in that brewer shop, his name's Wayne Shaw. He's a South African guy. I was just living in the surf shops talking to people. I wanted to be a professional surfer. So these guys were just telling me, like, if you want to be a pro surfer, you got to go to Hawaii. You got to take off the pipeline. You got to be like, you got to have a lot of balls. You got to do this. You got to do that. I just was listening, like, all right, that's what I got to do. I got to do. You know what I mean? That's how I just, you know what I mean? Like, each and so many people had influence. And then at about 16, I moved to Huntington Beach, and Bud Lamas, and there's a bunch of great surfers from Newport and Huntington Beach that were influential. And yeah, I got noticed up there and started getting sponsored, by 19 I won my first major event, and by 20 I was number one in the world for about 6 weeks.
Wow.
I was beating all those guys out that were on my posters: Mark Richardson, John Thompson, and Shane. I was finding out, and I surfed against them, and I would beat them. If it was small, because I was fast, and a really lively, fast surfer when I was light,
And people were counting on you. Some people were counting on you, and you were able to be focused, right? So that's the.
I completely got lucky, because if you were to watch me, you would have thought that kid is never going to make it, because I got distracted. I got into fights. I wasn't following, like, okay, work out and train and go. Yeah, I was pretty rock and roll.
So maybe instead of having coaches, you had the mentors, like what we were saying before.
I had lots of mentors.
Exactly.
Lots of people I ask questions. You know what the thing is? You got to ask people questions. And not people just don't do that. They do not ask enough questions. You want something, you got to ask people questions. Even the question of, would you help me?
Yeah.
Would you help me? Would you help me? You know what I mean? You go, okay, well, what do you need help with? You know what I mean? Like, no one is going to come up and say, hey, I'll give you some help.
No.
I know.
Ask for it.
Somebody, you can't help people. You can't go to people and say, hey, I could help you do a better cutback. You can't do it, because that person's not ready to listen.
Yeah.
And you get yourself in trouble. But if that person says, hey, could you do a better cutback on whatever, yeah, let me take a look. Okay. Yeah. And you got a willing, open, so that is one thing that I think is one of my gifts, is my curiosity and my personality. I'm gregarious enough to go ask people questions.
That's great. That's the curiosity that drives also you as a person, right? So let's fast forward. We thought about you. Actually, we thought about many things until now, but we thought about you as a professional surfer, and we said a little bit about the coaching that you're doing. How did you started with Wave Key? How did you come up with this idea or project?
Yeah, well, I started training with my Kung Fu sensei in 1999, I think, somewhere in 99, was 1996. And then, I trained with him for a while, and I was able to, learn from his knowledge of power and body position for power, and he taught people to everything from NFL kicker to hockey, ice hockey, baseball, equestrian, the U.S. ski team, tennis. I mean, he's just he knows movement. And so through that, then I just applied that to my own surfing. And then And then in about 2005, I met another lady who taught me lots and lots of things about movement that I would never ever have thought of myself. And then I started to coach around 2008 or nine, somewhere in there. I started coaching Parker Coffin, and I was able to help him. My dad coached me a lot, so I felt confident that I could teach. I always liked to help people, and I started coaching him, and right away he was having results. And then, and within a year, his Connor started coaching with me, and I was able to. I started to develop wave key then because I needed to show them how their body needed to move, more sophisticated movement. Their movement was it was too crude, and they needed to get more sophisticated. And I was able to take what Dan Reynolds was doing and slow it down and say, hey, look, this is what he's doing. This is what you need to do. And then I started to develop. Wave key after I started studying Aikido. The Aikido sensei would give a lesson, but he wouldn't explain all the things that were going on with the body. And so I asked him if I could videotape the lesson. So I videotaped the lessons, and then I studied the videotapes, and the way he was moving, I was like, wow, I think I sort of like put my Kung Fu stuff together with surfing, and then I brought it in with some of this Aikido energy, and Aikido is very circular, and so is surfing. Surfing is very circular, and everything circles. The surfboards are circles, the fins are circles, the waves are circles. There's the turns are all circles, so it's all circles and different kinds of circles. And anytime there's a straight line is when you get into trouble. So anyway. I started to develop it there, and I have like early videos of coaching Connor Coffin and on some of his surfing, and also by teaching inside of a room and not at the beach without the waves going like this, girls walking by in bikinis and just distractions. When you're in the controlled environment, you can really zero down into the part of the body that needs to move that maybe isn't moving. It hasn't had any development. And I very much like ballet. They're watching. There's when the ballet dancers start out, they're very crude and jerky, and they don't know how to flow from leap to spin to this and that and the other. They're sort of jerky, and they know how to stop it and then teach the person what actually the body does to spin around. And so I know how to do all of that stuff. But for me to do it while they're in the water is just, it's impossible because there's so much happening all at the same time. So when you bring it down into the floor and you bring it here, you teach the person how to be aware of their body to control the surfboard. And it's just grown from there. And I've taught people from like, a total beginner, someone who's never stood on a surfboard before. And after they trained with me for 2 years, they could be riding, they were riding a shortboard, to people who surfed when they were younger and then they started back up when they were older. People who have been surfing a long time but have bad habits, to sort of B grade, sort of amateur surfers, up to like Connor Coffin finished fourth this year, but basically mostly off of the principles that I taught him, how to turn, how to control the surfboard. So
Wow.
So
you would say that you're proud of what you achieved so far. What is next to achieve, in your opinion?
I would say, yes, I'm proud of it. I'm very much like my dad. My dad was a very innovative type of guy, very interested in the body movement, of excellence in body movement, and that the body has a way of doing something that's extra, that has this little extra like specialness to it that really makes it exciting to watch. And that's in diving, and then he taught me how to do it in surfing, and I know how to teach it. I know what to look for, and I know how to help a person reach their potential. And they're like, all my students don't surf alike. They don't have the same styles. They're not lit. It's not a cookie cutter thing. It's about looking at what they're doing and then bringing them to their highest level. But what I see next for Wave Key is getting more specific in certain areas for people, depending on where they live and what sort of surfboards they're riding. But almost in a way where, if you think about, okay, yeah, so I surf, but I also do yoga, or I go to the gym, or I stretch, or doing is that wave key goes with surfing. So yes, I surf and I do wave key, and then I do a little bit of some other conditioning, or I get some body work with it. But wave key is your companion to help you continue to progress, to help you get help you stay sharp for the next time the waves are good, so that you never lose the feeling of surfing within yourself, even if it's been 6 months, you haven't surfed in 6 months. So I think that's the tough part, is that you can really lose feeling of surfing if you don't surf. And with wave key, you're visualizing, but you're going through it, and you can get better and better at it.
What are your future projects? Of course, wave key continues to be your focus. Is there something that you are working on particularly?
I just would like to journey around the world and teach wave key to different, with different retreats. So let's say there's a group of surfers that are surfing pretty good. They've surfed for most of their life. They're in their 50s or their 60s. You know what I mean? It's a specific retreat for that type, that age. Oh, this is a group of 17-year-olds that are right on the cusp of moving into pro, and they need to work. They need to finesse certain things in order to go to the next level. They plateaued. A lot of people plateau at an early age. They get good, then they plateau. They go, okay, well, go to this advanced camp over here, because you can do a bottom turn on top. You can do all the moves, but you're not tying it together. Something's missing, you go there. Oh, it's specific bottom turn classes. Oh, it's big wave stuff. You know what I mean? We're going to go through a whole program of how to conquer your fear of big waves. And that's relative, because, like if you're normally surfing 2-foot waves and the waves are 6 foot, they're going to feel like they're really big. You know what I mean? And if you're riding 6-foot waves and you go to ride 20-foot waves, it's like, okay, they move at a different speed, and how do you prepare for that and all those types of things. So that's the area I'm going, but also I'm interested in teaching other really good surfers around the world to teach wave key based on their experience. So eventually I'll be teaching other people that are very good. They'll teach me back too through their experience. I learn from all my students. So I would say that would be the direction we're going. And yeah.
Amazing. Is a great project. So we're gonna finish. Yeah. Tell me.
Divide. You said the seasons from October to March. So then you either got it in April to October. You got to be traveling or whatever, but maybe you can't because of work or whatever it is. That's when you would go, okay, I'm gonna change my surfing from April to October, and come October, I'm going to be really ready to, and I'm going to do wave key that's specific to the waves of Dubai. There's sort of, it's wind swell, it peaks up here and peaks up here, and then there's a flat spot here. So I'm going to pick up a lot of speed on the takeoff, and then I'm going to skate over the flat and go into there. That's how I'm going to have the most fun, that kind of thing. So what do you do? And then we would design programs for you. So you do that. Maybe you go, okay, well, cool. I got some money. I can travel over to, I can go to Indonesia, or I can go somewhere where I can catch some waves for 2 weeks here or 2 weeks there. and so you keep your, kind of thing. And that's what I would think a lot of surfers that are landlocked or live in places where the waves are marginal seasonally. That's what they would do.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We're gonna finish our interview with a short Q&A session. So please answer the first thing that comes up to your mind. Okay.
Okay, sure.
The best surfboard that you ever ridden?
The best surfboard that I ever rode, it's probably a Xanadu. My 1991 Xanadu was the most magic. I have it. I have it right here. Yeah. That's the most magic surfboard maybe I ever rode.
Your favorite shaper?
My favorite shaper is Chris Christensen. He's made me so many good surfboards and he's so talented. So I really love working. He has such a great mind. I love working with him. Yeah.
Personal question. Your favorite song?
I think it's the Wonton song in Led Zeppelin. It's I can never get enough of the drums on that song.
What's the name of the song? You remember?
I think it's called the Wonton song. I think it's on Physical Graffiti. The Wonton, WANTON, the Wonton song. The drums are insane. And
Bonhams was a legend, right?
so I mean, I would either say that or the other one is Time from Pink Floyd. I love that song so much too.
Okay, we stay in the rock and roll part.
Yeah.
Your favorite surf spot?
I don't really have a favorite surf spot. I would say that anytime I can get in the water is pretty much like I make that my favorite surf spot because I'm in the water surfing. I don't really have a favorite.
As long we keep surfing,
I'm not local anywhere. It's I have no local spots.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Your favorite surfer of all time?
Probably Tom Curran.
Yeah, definitely.
He's always so fun to watch. Like no matter what, he's just standing there and he's. I mean, I love Dan Reynolds surfing too. He's one of my favorites to watch. But I would say probably Tom's my all-time favorite. Kelly's really fun to watch too. He's just always changing and he's interesting, really interesting surfer. Those guys, Dane, Kelly, they're interesting surfers. They're changing. They do different stuff, all different boards, different things.
Fantastic. Last question is a little bit unusual. We ask everybody on this show, has nothing to do with the surfboard, surf coaching, or anything else. We want to know your best relationship advice.
Best relationship advice. The number one thing is listen to every single word she says. 365, 24/7. If she says one thing that you don't like, tell her that.
Okay.
Don't sweep it under the rug.
Yeah. It actually.
You don't have to say I don't like that. You can just what you probably better is just ask her to say it again. Like, excuse me, like what do you mean? Like I'll give you an example. My wife goes, we're staying at an Airbnb like last year, and right across from the Airbnb looked like a guy who played football or for a guy. Hey, what's happening? Just a couple waves, whatever. And we were leaving, and we had all this food, meat, sausage, fries, just stuff like that. And she goes, "Oh, babe, why don't you go over there and give the football player this food off it? He'd really like it." And I was like, yeah, right. And then I listened, and I thought about it. I go, so you want me to like walk over there, knock on his door with a bunch of raw meat, and go, "Hey, look, do you want some? Do you want some of this?" Like, it's like, what if I did that to you, babe? You'd be like, "Oh no, I'm okay. I don't, you know, you know what I mean?" Like, you know, you coming over with a bunch of leftover food with somebody you've never met before. Do you know how many people are like, yeah, I'm okay. Thanks a lot. And then you walk back, you know, like, why did I even do that?
Especially in
But,
COVID time, right?
well, this was just before that, but still, I was just like, I kind of listened to her, and I was thinking, I was like, you know, if I was not such a good listener, I might have done something like that. And then, you know, it's just kind of, it's a funny one, but like, I mean, we were crying laughing about it because it was like, yeah, right, of course. A lot of chicks don't even know what they're doing. They just go, hey, would you go do this? And if you go, oh, I'm going to go do it. You know what I mean? You kind of got to go, what do you mean? And then they kind of realize, oh, okay, yeah, never mind. I don't mind. I was kind of, yeah.
You know,
they just want to be in charge of you. You know that. They want to be in charge. Go do this, go do that, go do this, go do that. Oh, okay, man, okay, yeah. You know, and then what happens is they end up getting bored of you.
well, I hope not, right?
No, they get bored of you and they tell you what to do all the time, and you go, oh, you know, oh, yeah. I'm just talking about in the early stage relationship advice, right? You know, and if you just, I'm not saying that you say, hey, I'm not going to do that. You just kind of go, oh yeah, well.
But you know, I think this is applicable to what you were saying before about coaching and honesty. You know, if you are honest with one of your students or somebody that learns from you, you know, like you have the courage to say, look, you have done it wrong, you're not good. And you know, like if you apply, you know, what we were saying about relationship to them, and if you apply the fact that you know, like maybe a student that you always saying, he always gets like, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best, at the end of the day he will leave you because he has nothing to learn from you. You're not challenging him enough. And so I like the way that the two parts of the interview kind of connected together, right? On different topics, but same kind of answer. So means that it's really meaningful for you.
Yeah. And you know, and you know, that brings me to like Christensen told me that Greg, like, I just won't mention the names. One guy gets boards and everybody gets, he goes, this thing's great. This other pro gets boards and he goes, yeah, he told me, he goes, that guy's really picky. And he goes, and I like that because the challenge. And that's kind of, and for me, like I get a board, I ride it, and I'm picky too. And I'm like, it's good, but and you don't realize, but giving that back, that honesty can make the shaper grow. Right. And a lot of people think, and there are some shapers, they don't want to hear any negative. They just want you to say, yeah, it works killer. But I'm not that guy. But a lot of people want to hear the honesty.
Yeah, of course.
But you can't know which ones want it and don't want it. So you just got to be honest.
Yeah, it's
you can't like trying to, he wants this and she wants that. He wants this and this. No, you just have to be like, hey, there's the honesty.
To be able to accept the feedback, right? If you are in that position, then you are ready for improvement. If you are full of yourself and not ready to accept the feedback, then you just stay as you are, as a man, as a woman, as a surfer, as a basketball player, or just a normal human being in the middle of the street.
Totally. I don't think you can. I also think you can't go beyond a certain level if you aren't honest. I think everything stays on the surface.
Yeah.
So if you, I mean, there's some people you want a surface relationship with them. You know, they go, "Hey, how you doing?" You're like, "Hey, I'm doing great," because you don't want to say, "Hey, I'm fucking pissed off right." We're just not the right person. You know what I mean? You know, you're like, "I don't want to go there." You know, yeah. Real people that you want friends. You know, that's when you can. I think that's when you go deep, and that's when you get a lot more value anyway, you know? So
I totally agree with you. Thanks so much for being part of the show today. And I look forward to talk to you very soon. I hope you enjoyed.
Do you want, if anybody listening wants to sign up to Wave Key, I'm happy to give them a Temple of Surf little discount, if they're interested. Yeah, I mean, we've been getting lots of really great feedback. So no pressure, no nothing, but little discount sometimes makes people go, "Oh, I might check it out."
Of course. Thank you for offering that. Thank you. Definitely. I guess the listeners will that are interested will definitely go for it. Thank you. It's been a great pleasure to have you on the show and talk to you soon.
Okay, take care, buddy.
Ciao. Bye.
Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!